Laura Schuler remembers how anxious she felt before her meeting with coach Shannon Miller to learn if she had made Canada's first Olympic women's hockey team. The setup is similar to what they do now, where you're down to your final selections and the core of the team that is still remaining gets individually brought into a room one by one and you're there with the head coach and 2 assistants, Schuler said. Obviously then your fate is determined. I remember being very nervous before walking in the room. Story continues below advertisement. Schuler received happy news on that day 2 decades ago as she and the Canadian team went on to win silver at the 1998 Games in Nagano, Japan. She also knows what it feels like to not make the cut as she was left off the 1994 World Championship team. The first former player to coach the Olympic team, the 47-year-old from Toronto is now the one making those decisions of joy and heartbreak ahead of February's Winter Games in Pyeongchang, South Korea. 28 women were summoned to try out for the team attempting to defend the gold won in an overtime thriller against the U.S. in 2014. After a grueling boot camp in June, the women congregated in Calgary in August to begin full-time preparation for Pyeongchang. Schuler, assistants Dwayne Guiley-Voychuk of Winnipeg and Troy Ryan of Spryfield, NS, and general manager Melody Davidson of Oyen, Alberta, have been scrutinizing players in practices and games. Forward Amy Potomac of Aldergrove, BC, and defender Erin Ambrose of Keswick, Ontario, were released November. 23 more skaters will be cut to get to the roster of 3 goaltenders and 20 skaters, compared to the previous limit of 3 and 18 in 2014. Story continues below advertisement. Story continues below advertisement. Goaltenders Shannon Shabatis of Edmonton, Genevieve Lacasa of Kingston, Ontario, and Anne-Renee Desbiens of Malby, Quebec, will be Canada's 3 goalies in Pyeongchang. They're competing for coveted starts. Having experienced both acceptance and rejection, Schuler says there is no way to make what will be painful for some players less painful. No, absolutely not, she said. Obviously we had to let go of 2 players there and it was one of the hardest things we had to do as a staff and as a team because they become a part of your family. It's a matter of finding what works into your puzzle. Getting all the pieces to come together, it's a really challenging process and what lies ahead of us is really tough. It's so close with our players. That's just what's going to be so hard. It's so close, I'm talking paper thin. Hockey Canada has until January 21 to submit its women's roster to the Canadian Olympic Committee. Story continues below advertisement. If history is an indicator, the Olympic team could be named as early as this week. Players in previous centralizations have gone home for their holiday break knowing their status. We have no idea when releases are going to be made, 2-time Olympic defender Megan Michelson said. It's my 3rd time around and it's still stressful. It's still hard.